Welcome to this 2-week update of living and recovering from Ramsay Hunt Syndrome. A little preview of this video. Talk about energy crashing. We talk about going to the eye doctor. An update from the ear, nose, throat doctor. Big step in facial movement. And faith to turn challenges into opportunities for growth. Last time, I felt like a real YouTuber with talking about travels. Let's get back into some hardcore health. I was a little worried about being able to sustain my energy after those 2 weeks. And actually, I didn't crash for almost a week, probably because I had to jump right back into a lot of work. I'm working full time. And I hit the end of the week and just completely hit a wall. This is one of the challenges of Ramsay Hunt. It definitely impacts your energy, and it continues to do so. I still feel very limited on my energy. I'm able to do a lot, but I just hit a wall. I had a really great analogy from somebody I work with who's experiencing a health issue of a different type. And they said, it's kind of like you have a very limited battery. As long as you stay within that limit of the battery, you're okay. In my case, I did okay. Came back from the trip, was able to jump back into work. I'm sitting at a desk most of the time, so it wasn't too bad. But when I finally had some downtime, I just hit a wall. Just completely out. Completely exhausted, slept. It takes a while to recharge that battery. I went to the eye doctor. He looked and feels like the punctal plug that was preventing draining of tears, the tear ducts, had fallen out. So I'm still having a lot of tearing. He thinks it was because of the droopy lower eyelid. Also, I just think I'm experiencing this thing called synkinesis, which does weird things to the nerves on the face. So I'm tearing a lot. My eye is healthy, still pretty moist. And you'll see here in a few minutes that my movement is pretty awesome. We're now moving to meeting every 8 weeks, which is cool. The eye's done pretty well. A lot of it has come from using the moisture chamber that you've seen me in previous videos. I don't record with it usually. I did in the last video. It's goofy, but it keeps the eye moist, keeps it healthy. I am finding I can go longer periods during the day without the moisture chamber. So not just in these videos, I can go an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Not so much outside. I still wear it when I'm outside just to keep the eye moist and healthy. All right, big update from the ear, nose, throat neurologist doctor. This was my second visit with this super specialized ear, nose, throat doctor. He was really hopeful about the face. He feels like my movement, and we'll see here in the Palsy check, has improved to about a level 3 on a scale of 1 to 6. 1 being no paralysis, 6 being fully paralyzed. I was at a level 6 full paralysis, and now I'm about a 3. He said maybe 2. I think he was generous. And he's really optimistic that I'm going to continue to see improvement. So that's really awesome. And you're going to see here in the Palsy check that I really have made a ton of improvement from video to video. Now, he was a lot more pessimistic about my hearing. He said 95% chance it won't improve. He said usually what happens is the Cochlear and other organs get damaged and they don't heal. It's not just about the nerve. So I did a little research. Here's what I came up with. Inflammation from Ramsay Hunt damages hair cells in the cochlea and the spinal ganglion neurons, SGNs, that transmit sound to the brain. Inflammation can also cause the facial nerve to swell inside its narrow bony canal, cutting off its blood supply and leading to Wallerian degeneration. Because the cochlea's sensory cells and SGNs do not regenerate, damage can be permanent. That was a mouthful, especially for this partially functioning mouth. That was a little disappointing. He's going to have me do an MRI and audiogram to see what the state of things are. And I may need to decide whether I want to get a cochlear implant, because that's probably going to be the only vehicle for improving my hearing at this point. I'll talk a little bit more about trying to make this decision later in the video. But for now, let's do a Palsy check. So like I said, I feel like I've made the most progress in the last few weeks of all. So raise the eyebrow, still not getting much movement in the eyebrow, but let's try and blink the eyes. And I can kind of squint. I was doing better this morning. You can see I can squint a little bit. I can kind of shut it. Maybe I can blink. Flare the nostril. Here's the good side. I don't know. Puff the cheeks. Not so much. Smile. So the toothless smile, it's okay. Toothy smile, kind of weird. I feel like the face is moving as a whole unit and not necessarily one individual side. So if I raise this eyebrow, it kind of flexes this side. The good eyebrow will trigger that. You can see I'm twitching a little bit, whistle. I feel like I've had good improvement on the facial movement. It still feels really stiff. I am still doing that facial massage that I showed a couple of videos ago, and that just feels good. Hopefully it's helping loosen up the facial muscles. Not so great here, decent in the eye, decent in the mouth. Status quo, I don't feel like hearing has changed. Still got a lot of tinnitus, still limited hearing. We're going to see how bad it is when I do some tests. I'm still doing acupuncture, but only every 2 weeks. Still taking Chinese herbs. Don't know if they're helping, but I definitely feel stimulation when I do it. Now, in terms of living life, I did go to another concert. One was a French band called Air. You'll be like, man, you go to a lot of concerts. And you know what? This is crazy. I've probably gone to more concerts this year, 3 since I started recording, than I can ever remember. It's almost like the universe is like, hey, we're going to give you a chance to hear while you can, which makes me think maybe I should get that Cochlear implant. I also ended this 2-week period in a very special way. 30 years ago, I was in Brazil serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was 2 years. I was in Brasilia and areas around it. I spent time with other missionaries sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with anyone who would listen. And the leader of that mission was a president. We all had temporary assignments, including him. We came home and went on with our lives. I was 19, 21, and we got together with people that I'd served with. It was a really awesome experience. LDS, or Mormon missions, are pretty intense. They're very difficult physically, emotionally, and spiritually, but they're also immensely satisfying working with others, helping them, teaching them the gospel. And so ending this 2-week period was on a real high. All right, I feel like I've got a very significant decision to make around a cochlear implant. My doctor said the longer you wait, the less effective it is. So I did a little research, and this is what I found. There was a large study, and I'll link to it below, in postlingually deaf adults. I'm assuming that's people who have learned how to speak, who had hearing and then lost it. Found that people who remained in profound hearing loss without hearing aids lost about 0.83% of cochlear implant speech performance per year. If you've seen a cochlear implant, it's this thing that goes in the back of your head. I think they wire it to through your skull into your cochlea. And then there's a microphone, a speech processing and transmitting device. It's kind of bulky, and I think it's going to be an expensive procedure if I try to get it, because when I went to the audiologist the first time, he said insurance doesn't like to pay if there's one good ear. I did ask my doctor, I was like, oh, that's bulky. He said they are working on miniaturized devices, but we're years from those being available. I'm not at a point where I need to make a decision. I'm a little bit comforted that the deterioration is only so much, but it's given me a lot to think, because you think about with a lot of our organs, we have redundancy. So I'm down to one good ear. What if that ear has an issue, goes bad, or I have another accident? Should I bring hearing to this ear so that in case something happens with the other ear and then I'm completely deaf? I will say having one good ear is still very awesome. Case in point, all the music I've been able to enjoy. Sounds like a gnarly procedure and could be very expensive, and I've got to decide if it's worth it. Right now, I'm okay with one ear. I'm okay with the tinnitus in the bad ear. I did read that cochlear implants do tend to improve the tinnitus. So that's a positive benefit. I'm just grateful for the progress I've had, for the movement I've had, and I've found a strange sense of peace around the hearing. Early on, I thought, probably not going to get it back. And so when the doctor told me that, it wasn't really disappointing. I was like, well, I just assumed that my hearing was fried based on what I've read. But I do love hearing. I listen to a lot of podcasts, love music, and I would hate to lose that. So I'm going to have a lot to think about. It's a pretty heavy time as a recording of this video. I don't really comment on current events because that's not the purpose of this channel. But for me, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we recently lost our prophet to death. So I wanted to share a quote from him because he was an amazing person, Russell M. Nelson. He was a surgeon and then became a full-time clergy. Died at the age of 101. Faith in Jesus Christ is the greatest power available to us in this life. All things are possible to them that believe. Your growing faith in him will move mountains, not the mountains of rock that beautify the earth, but the mountains of misery in your lives. Your flourishing faith will help you turn challenges into unparalleled growth and opportunity. I really like this quote. You know, the faith will not move the physical mountains. Maybe in my case, it will not move the mountains of physical disability, but it'll help with the challenges and provide unparalleled growth and opportunity. Honestly, I feel like I've experienced a lot of growth, a lot of perspective, and these challenges continue to give me that opportunity for growth and perspective. I know a lot of people with Ramsay Hunt struggle. I wouldn't say that this hasn't been a struggle for me. To be honest, I feel like I've had a huge infusion of faith that's really made this manageable, and I hope that sharing that helps others. It's really hard to deal with the uncertainty of, will I get my energy back? Will I be able to blink? Will I be able to do more physical activities? Will I be able to hear again? Or will I be able to handle it if I can't do any of those things? And I feel like this has given me a lot of opportunity to grow and continue to grow. That's this 2-week update. I hope you found this beneficial. If you've had, like the video, share it to others. Ask me a question in the comments. I'm happy to answer it. And I'll see you on the next one.